A lot of y'all have reached out with questions or concerns about former President Donald Trump's conviction in the New York court last week, so I thought I'd hop on here and answer some of the most commonly asked questions that I'm getting. At the end, offer a little bit of insight into the situation. Probably the number one question I'm getting is, isn't this entire thing just driven by a politically motivated district attorney? And this question is being raised because the DA in the case, Alvin Bragg, when he was running for office, promised that if elected, he would prosecute or charge Donald Trump. The issue with this question or argument, however, is that the prosecutor's motivation has no bearing on the defendant's guilt or innocence. The two are separate questions. So the prosecutor may be politically motivated or personally motivated or otherwise motivated, and we still have to answer the question of whether or not the defendant did or did not do the acts that he or she is being accused of committing. Those are two entirely separate questions. It's entirely possible that Alvin Bragg is politically motivated and that Donald Trump is guilty of what he's being charged with. Two entirely separate questions, and the prosecutor's motivation has no bearing on the defendant's guilt or innocence. Another question I'm getting asked a lot is, isn't this not a fair trial because it took place in a precinct that overwhelmingly voted against Donald Trump in the last election? And the issue with this question is that anywhere you would go in America would be a precinct that either voted for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump in the last election. And so no matter where you would go, one of the sides could argue an unfair bias. Legally, because this involved Donald Trump's business in New York, the charges are brought by the district attorney in New York, and thus the trial takes place in New York. And this is what it means to have a trial by the jury of your peers. A third question I'm getting a lot is, how is it that Donald Trump's still running for president? Doesn't being convicted of a felony prohibit you from running for office? And the simple answer to this is no. Being convicted of a felony does not prohibit you from running for office. In certain places and certain offices, it does prohibit you from taking office. There's a case a few years ago where someone from jail ran for office, won, but was not allowed to take his seat because he was sitting in prison. But it's not true that being convicted prohibits you from running for office. So Donald Trump is fully legally allowed to run despite the conviction in New York. Now, what do I think of this situation? I think we often conflate in cases like this the legal question with the moral question. The legal question asks if someone's actions are legal or illegal. And in this case, that's a pretty hotly debated question. Legal experts disagree. They disagree on whether the court got it right. They disagree on what's going to happen in the appeals process. But that's an entirely different question from the moral question, which asks whether an action is right or wrong. I've seen a lot of the same memes you've probably seen the last week. Memes of Jesus comforting Donald Trump, saying it's okay. They also convicted me in the sham trial. Or the one going around that says Jesus Christ was also wrongly convicted in the sham trial. I still follow him, and thus I still follow Donald Trump. Or things like that. Now, I think most of our viewers know I am a devout evangelical Christian myself. And here's what troubles me about these comparisons. It's imperative to remember what are the facts at the core of this case. Facts that the prosecution and Donald Trump's defense team agreed upon. And those facts are Donald Trump had an extramarital affair with an adult film actress named Stormy Daniels, and then his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, paid Stormy Daniels not to talk of her relationship with Donald Trump in order to help him do better in the 2016 election. Again, these are facts stipulated by both the prosecution and the defense. So we could have a legitimate conversation on the legal side and ask about the legal ramifications of this, what is or isn't considered a crime. But when we begin to defend the morality of this situation, it's imperative to know that that is what we are defending. And if we're going to compare that to what Jesus Christ was charged with and what Jesus Christ went through and the life that he lived on this earth, I think we're now moving out of the realm of morality and into the realm of sacrilege. As a Christian myself, I find it very disturbing that we are using this moment to defend moral actions that the Bible very clearly calls sin. Again, the legal question is a different standard and a different question, but for us to take that and defend what is very clearly wrong in Scripture and to compare that to the life of Jesus is not just morally questionable, but sacrilegious and blasphemous. That's my take on the situation. Hopefully answer some of the biggest questions that you're asking. As always, if you've got feedback or questions, you can drop it in the comments or DM me. I hope this helps.